So we're here at PDAC with Bruce Counts from Storm Exploration.
Correct.
And Storm is a relatively young company with only few shares outstanding.
Correct.
Pretty much at the beginning of which I believe is going to be a very exciting campaign this year in predominantly a gold play in Ontario. And it's a banded iron formation which has a lot of history, but you're the one to tell us more about it, please.
That's right. So our primary focus is a project called Miminiska, and it's a banded iron formation hosted gold target.
Yes.
There's enough historical drilling for us to know that the banded iron formation is well endowed with gold. But there are some key areas that have never been tested with drilling, which our initial work has shown that these are very compelling targets for drilling that we will be targeting this year.
Yes. Well, I think we should also mention that there's a lot of historic information available on that project, dating back to the 40s, I guess. And the grades really look compelling.
They are. They're mineable grades and mineable widths. So the best hole would be 5.75 grams over 20 meters. But there's a number of holes that are in that sort of category. So clearly it's a great start, but not so much drilling has been done that it's taken away all that exploration and discovery upside. But it's great to know that we're in the right location, again, well endowed with gold, and there's these really compelling targets within that banded iron formation that have yet to be tested.
And banded iron, I think that's important to also explain. This one starts at surface.
Correct.
And they are known to run deep as well.
Correct.
So I think you should point out some close analogies maybe also in the neighborhood.
Sure. Well, so geologically our project looks very similar to a project that was called the Lupin Gold Mine, which was in Nunavut, so in the very far north of Canada. It ran 9 grams per ton. And there was 3 million ounces in that. And it went right from surface right down to 3,600 meters, and they were still in 9-gram material. So, banded iron formations can be very high grade. They can have a very large gold endowment, so multi-million ounce deposit. But more than that, the majors or producers like them because they are very consistent in their mineralogy and the mineralization. So you don't get a lot of nuggety gold. So, a producer can count on their ounces today and tomorrow, and they have a lot of assurance that way. The other thing that's really important to know about banded iron formation is that they tend to be fairly simple metallurgically. So it's not a complicated process to get the gold out of the rocks. It doesn't require a lot of toxic chemicals. So fairly simple, and you get very high recoveries. Again, that's another reason why producers like them.
So tell us about the scope of this year's drill program. What's the size you plan, and also what's the timing on it? So,
in terms of timing for the drilling, we expect to start that sometime in Q2, probably around June. But earlier, our next big milestone is to get support from the local First Nations. We're very far into our negotiation with a memorandum of understanding to work with them, and that's been going very well. So that's really our next catalyst, and I'd be looking for that in the next 6 weeks. Then we'll follow that with a drill program through the summer, and that will be focused on those targets. And particularly, if you looked at the banded iron formation, there's a fold within the banded iron formation, which is an ideal place to look for gold mineralization that's never been tested. So we're very excited to test that.
Yes. And I've had a look at the map. Obviously, we're targeting just a fraction of the overall,
That's right.
Let's say, anomaly, I would say.
Yes, that's right. So the Miminiska prospect where we'll drill this year is at one end of the project. 12 kilometers away, there's also no more banded iron formation, which has mineable grades and mineable widths. And we know that there's gold occurrences all between those in that 12 kilometers. So we'll be looking to develop targets for testing probably a little later in 2023 or early 2024. But our focus right now will be on this Miminiska prospect where we have a lot of information and very good targets.
So is it more going to be like a 2,000 meter program, or is it?
Yeah, 2,500 to 3,500 meters. We want to build in a little flexibility. If we like what we're seeing, then we'll want to continue drilling.
And the big question is, you were mentioning that you wanted to drill that nose fold,
Yes.
which is the typical feature of these types of deposits where you expect the richest, let's say, concentration and thickest intercepts. So if just, well, in the best case you hit it, what do you think that would do?
Well, what we're looking for is that aha moment where we know now we have a big enough footprint that we could have that multi-million ounce deposit. So once we establish that, I think there'll be a significant re-rate in the stock price and the value of the company.
Yes. And maybe it's worth mentioning that this is not well, the neighborhood of this property as well. Maybe talk about that, and also accessibility.
Right, so there's an all-weather road that comes within about 25 kilometers of the project. It's called the Agoki Forestry Road. But you know, one of the reasons that what drew us to this area was the fact that very little work had been done in the last 20 years. So it kind of fallen off the radar screen of the geological community. And that was our opportunity to get in there and seize these projects early on. And actually, after we acquired these projects, we found that all the ground around us had been staked because we sort of opened up the eyes of the geological community to the potential of this area.
Okay, sounds good. Well, I think that should be it for the moment. We're definitely going to follow up with this. And I'm really looking forward to getting you to drill this.
Yeah,
thank you.
Me too.
But one last question maybe is are you funded to drill it?
No, we're not funded to drill it. We expect to raise a small amount of money to fund the drilling after we've established our agreement with the First Nations.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.